Before seeing amazing table about the great massacre which took place in Israel, let us see what the Times of Israel tells us. 4 killed, 2 wounded in stabbing attack at Beersheba, male terrorist shot dead. Arab Israeli from southern Bedouin town stabs women and gas station, rams cyclists, then attacks others at shopping center. Attacker was formerly imprisoned for Islamic State ties. This is unfortunately the story. Now, the 4 killed, you can see here, by Moshe Karbitsky, Laura Yitzchak, Menachem Yechezkel, Doris Yachbas. This is the 4 who were murdered by this criminal terrorist. Terrible story, unfortunately. Terror attacks in Israel are very often, unfortunately. So let us see, before seeing the table, really what the table is about. So I will show you, and then we'll see what it is exactly and what was said about it. So this is basically the table in which we have, based in Torah, and based missing the Torah, Islamic Jihad, and more about it, definitely. It appears in one book in about a few chapters, very significant. I think 160 letters in a skip. So let us see what the famous commentator of 13 says the following. His name is quite famous, Yechezkeli, and this is what he says on the murderous attack in Beersheba. The root is that there is a certain interpretation in Islam according to which we are in fields deserving death. This is why they are unfortunately killing, murdering Jewish people. We are in a war of existence, a kind of war of independence. These famous commentators, Yechezkel, very famous. And this is what he says. And all what he said is already written in our books many, many years ago. So let us see now what is written, and then we see tables about it. So this is about Rab Chaim Vital, very famous as a pupil of the Rabbi Isaac Luria, great Kabbalist, and he had explanation on Psalms 124. So this is what he said. This I took from the internet. You already know that the exiles were only 4 Babylonians, Madai and Persia, Greece and Edom, but Israel will still be at the end of days in the exile of Ishmael. This 5th exile, which is the last of them all, is the most difficult of all, and it is the exile of Ishmael, who is called in the Torah wild man. It is also written in the Zohar, you have no difficult exile for Israel like the exile of Ishmael. So clearly we see it, and we said, because this they believed, that those who don't believe in the Islam deserve death. This is what the famous Rabbi Mechtav Eliyahu said in volume 3. Israel was given into the exile of Ishmael because of a defect of faith they had that needs to be corrected in order to be freed from the exile of Ishmael, which is based on faith. Amazing. This is exactly why we cannot get rid of this terrorist, because our faith is not perfect, especially we have such a heresy government, and no, So this is exactly what is written. Then, looking more into sources, as we said, all of them really tell us about the past. Now, it is very interesting biblical table that we did with Professor Amalek from New York University, Grantor Center. And here clearly shows what is the root of all the promise we have from Ishmael. This is Ishmael. And why is this scroll of Jerusalem? So let us see first all the verse which appears. So here you have scroll over Jerusalem because of the covenant, means circumcision from Ishmael, by the Fatah and PLO. Now, this is exactly what we are told in many, many books. And in fact, in my book, Israel, Torah Code, which I did with Professor Amalek, we have brought many sources, Medrash, Talmud, Kabbalah, clearly indicates why we have this terrible fighting with Ishmael, starting from the time of Isaac and Ishmael. Yeah, this is the root of everything. So this is really what the very significant table about the root of the problems between Ishmael and Israel to do with Jerusalem, the quarrel. So we know quite well, very famous Zohar who told us this is about the circumcision. What is written in the Torah, God to say to Abraham, you will get your land, but you have to be circumcised. Now the Arabs also have circumcision, but no other important details that the Jewish have, which is called Atafat Brit, dripping blood, Priya, takes the foreskin. So the Zohar says that the angel of Ishmael up in heaven said, we also perform circumcision. So we deserve Jerusalem, deserve Israel. So God answered to the angel of Ishmael, very famous Zohar in portion Vayera in Genesis. And he said to him, yes, right, because of your circumcision, which is really lacking the most important part, you will get Israel the time the Jews will not come back. And it is interesting, in my book, in English, Ismael, and Israel, I brought very interesting finding I found. I was in Holland, in Amsterdam, so I saw a rabbi in a book, old book, said that the number of years that Israel will have control over Jerusalem will be exactly like the gematria of what God promised to the Arab. And he promised, Ishmael Shmaticha, I heard your request for Ishmael. So Ishmael Shmaticha come to the gematria of the years after the Sixth War. Amazing. So Sixth War, we got Jerusalem back. So this table, very highly statistic, 0.5 to 100,000. So this is the root and the source of the problem, because the Arabs, the Islam believes that Israel belongs to them. People who don't believe in the Islam deserve death, and this is what they are doing to Jews. Yeah, so to get rid of it, we will not read politics. We cannot solve these problems also with Iran, because behind all these quarrels is religion, faith, and with this difficult to fight. So let us see what the table says about the jihad, the Islamic jihad. So in a very small area, really, you can see it in the book of Genesis. In a few chapters, you have best meeting of the jihad. This is the jihad Islam, the Islamic jihad. Now, what they are, so we saw upon terrorists. You have the word terror coming parallel. And many times if you remember, very famously, the Medrash, the Talmud, wherever is mentioned about the enemies of Israel who want to murder them, to wipe them out, are Amalekite. Parallel comes the word Amalek. One should know it's not simple to have a parallel. So parallel to the Islam and to the terror, all of them parallel. You have Amalekite. Amalekite means really people want to lick the Jewish blood like a dog, like we had before this crusade, you have the Nazis, you have to the Iran, and you have Iran also. Amazing. You have Iran coming here with Hamanai. Hamanai is the Haman of today. Want to wipe out Jews. This is why they're doing the bombs. This is why hundreds, thousands of rockets and missiles under Israel. This is why the Houthis have ballistic missiles who can each planet in Israel, frightening. So we are exactly now in the time like we were before the Holocaust. So coming here, now parallel you have here the evil force of lust, which mainly is the Arabs, yeah. It's called Lilith, yeah, very famous. In fact, Jews are praying 3 times a day, asking God to remove from us these evil forces. Lilith, which is last, and Samael. You have Samael to do with the left, because the leftists also don't believe in Torah and God. So this is the Samael, the masculine evil force, which is the angel of the Amalekite, who also doing all this trouble to Jews. And Lilith, so this is really last and strength. So this is Edom and Ishmael, basically. I mean, Ishmael, the Arabs are connected with the Lilith, and Edom, before there were Nazis, Europe, those were against Israel, are to do this Samael with the left. Amazing. So all of this table is a very small one, but the message, importance of it is clearly telling us what this really famous commentator said, that the Jihad has very deep roots in religion, Islam, and very difficult to fight with them. So you have the Islam Jihad, connected with the Amalekite, with the Lilith, with Samael, and terror, all parallel. I said many times that one should know that Torah codes appearances is not simple like people do one year. There are parallels, there are good meetings. This I said many times. This is a table based on the finding, not about the program reward. Dr. Alexander Rothenberg, who is a Russian scientist, he came from Russia like Professor Reeves. Professor Reeves showed him the phenomena of the codes. He became Orthodox Jews, keeping the Torah, and he made this program that we are using all the letter after letter. This is the Bible code here. Already 800 years ago was used Rabbeinu Bachya. I brought in my YouTube a lot of this. So he said that if it's minimal, I think the Jihad might be minimal, best meetings, parallel, in one book, especially in few chapters. Now, what is interesting in this table is the location. The location is when Jews were in Egypt, and Pharaoh and the Egyptian afflicted them. So it's written there, Yakutsu bnei Israel, they hated the children of Israel, Miriru et chaim, they made their life, bitter life, haters there, Suneinu. So whatever it is unbelievable that really this stable Bible code, the Torah, which is the blueprint of reason, clearly confirms what the new famous commentator Tzvi Yechezkeli said on the murderers attacking Beersheba. What is the root? There is a certain interpretation in Islam, according to which we are in fails deserving death. And this is the reason. So therefore, you will not be able to solve the problem politically, to give them the land, nothing, because what they want is to murder Jews, to slaughter them, to wipe them out. They say it clearly. You see, Iran said clearly that this is what they want, because it deserves their Islam, their Mahdi. So, as commentator Tzvi Yechezkel said, we are in a war of existence. a kind of hope independence. One should know it. And all these things really proves him the table and what the rabbis 400 years ago said, yeah, that what we'll have now, the exile, which is most, the exile of Ishmael, who is called in the Torah wild man, and is the most difficult one. And the Zohar, the Kabbalah says, you have no more difficult exile for Israel, like the exile of Ishmael. So we see clearly. So, what is the solution? To repent, to keep the Torah, to keep the Shabbos, because we are told, the Torah tells us clearly, when Jews translate the Shabbos, desecrated the Shabbos, Amalek came to fight with them. When they ask question, Ayesh Hashem Imanu, is God with us or not? Says the Torah, Yabu Amalek, Amalek came to fight with them. Amalek came to fight in Refidim. Refidim, our rabbis tell us, means to lose hands, did not keep the Torah properly with their hands. Yabu Amalek, Amalek came to fight. So the only way to get rid of this jihad and this terrorists is only keeping the Torah, which is a blueprint of creation. And on our life is dependent on it.